Her dreams to establish herself as, I don't know, the combination of an aristocrat, Hollywood A-lister, and princess of woke activism, if you like, all at the same time, is starting to crumble in front of her very eyes because her animated show Pearl has been axed by Netflix.
No.
Yes. So to put this into context, let's begin with what is going on at Netflix. So the news broke a month or so ago that Netflix has lost 200,000 subscribers in the first quarter of this year. This is a net loss. Excuse the pun. In January, it reported it had 221.84 million subscribers at the end of 2021. However, during the 3-month period that ended on March the 31st, Netflix says its total fell to 221.64 million subscribers. It marks the first time Netflix has lost subscribers during a quarter in 10 years. It said that it's not accounting for the losses in Russia, where the streamer cut services over the country's invasion of Ukraine. It would have added 500,000 subscribers in that quarter. So Netflix have given 4 main reasons for why this has occurred. So first, this is what they say, a rise in broadband prices, data costs, and a potentially reduced uptake of connected TVs, none of which they control. That's one reason. The second reason is that people are continuing to discover through time that they don't actually need a kind of a subscription to watch Netflix. They can just log in on, I don't know, a mate's account and watch it, for as long as they don't go over the number of applications that they can kind of link it up to or whatever. So there's that. The third reason is because of competition from YouTube, Amazon, Hulu, which I've never even heard of before today, which has been more intense over the last 3 years. And the last reason, they say, as already alluded to, are factors such as sluggish economic growth, increasing inflation, geopolitical events such as Russia's invasion of Ukraine, and some continued disruption from COVID, which is continuing to have an impact as well. Mostly because I think a lot of people bought a Netflix subscription when they had literally nothing to do. And you just have to look at how well Tiger King did compared to previous Netflix shows at a different point in time to see kind of how this was very much went in their favour.
It's weird how they don't notice at all Nonsflix as well. That whole scandal, the whole cuties thing.
Yeah, they haven't mentioned this once, have they? Yeah, but I've been led to believe that they're announcing these losses because they're getting sued by a South Korean broadband firm linked with the show, Squid Game, and that they're kind of trying to present their losses now in a way that will give them a more sympathetic court hearing or whatever. But yeah, I don't know much about that. But these reasons that they've given, I mean, all 4 of them may be true to a point, but as you say, there is another reason why people may be revoking their subscription. Because it's getting progressively worse. I think there is this sense that Netflix are becoming a little bit of an intersectional propaganda machine.
A little bit.
A little bit. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, well, cuties. The writing's on the wall with that, really. The third series of Sex Education, I'm embarrassed to say that I've watched it, but was absolutely awful for that. I mean, there are other examples, aren't there? Just an endless. We'll get the list up of the stuff that's been cancelled in a minute, but I think people are getting increasingly aware of this, and for that reason, they've had to think, well, how are we going to survive in the foreseeable future? So they're thinking about making cutbacks. So yes, they're expecting further losses in the second quarter, as much as 2 million subscribers they believe could go. So it seems Netflix is decadent. Yeah, the co-CEO and chief content officer Ted Sarandos has said that the company still wants to compete, and for that reason is going to continue investing in new shows. This will involve improving the core servers and increasing the content spread relative to previous years. Netflix was worth, I think, $246.46 billion in 2021, but still carries a £15.5 billion debt. But yeah, it's making cutbacks. And Meghan Markle's show Pearl, which is supposed to focus on the adventures of a 12-year-old girl inspired by historically influential female characters, is one of the fatalities. But let's have a look at the list of the shows that have been axed. So here we are. Most of these I've literally never heard of. So you've got Another Life, Archive 81, Bone, Boons and Curses, Cooking with Paris, Dino Daycare, that sounds like a children's show, Gentified, On the Verge, Pearl, that's Meghan Markle's, Pretty Smart, Raising Dion, Space Force, The Babysitter's Club, The Twits, Toil and Trouble. So these are the cancelled series and scrapped projects in 2022. That's quite a lot. Have you heard of any of those at all other than Pearl?
I hadn't even heard of Pearl.
No. Well, okay.
But I'm kind of removed from a lot of this stuff.
Yes.
I never had a Netflix account, actually. So, not for me.
Yeah, neither have I, but I do have access to one, regrettably. I will be cancelling very, very soon, obviously. But Pearl is basically the show that was produced by the production company called Archwell, the production company founded by both Harry and Meghan to, I suppose, springboard their career into the limelight as both kind of aristocrats and Hollywood A-listers, with, of course, a very, very woke political message. So this is their declaration, if you like. Archwell Productions was created by the Duke and Duchess of Sussex to produce programming that informs, elevates, and inspires. Through its creative partnership with Netflix, the world's leading streaming entertainment service with more than 195 million members, Archwell Productions will utilise the power of storytelling to embrace our shared humanity and duty to truth through a compassionate lens. So yeah, there is, I suppose, a commitment to the idea of a ministry of truth before it actually happened. But yes, if we move on to the next, we can see the declaration made here when there was, of course, all the excitement for where Meghan's career was, I suppose, as a writer, producer, whatever was going to go. So yeah, Meghan.
I don't know. I don't know what on earth she thought her career was. It was like, I'll get into the royal family and then screw it up and then just disappear. Like,
yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Good planning.
Well, her entire venture has been flawed from the very, very beginning for reasons that we're going to go into. Her personal, the way that she's managed her public persona has been so out of place with the virtues that she's espoused consistently. And I think the very reason that Netflix have chosen to pull this is because they just know this is going to be a disaster before it's even released. But yeah, this is the announcement. Meghan Markle, the Duchess of Sussex, will create and executive produce Pearl, an animated series for Netflix. Hailing from Markle and Prince Harry's Archwell Productions banner, Pearl is a family series that centres on the adventures of a 12-year-old girl who finds inspiration in a variety of influential women throughout history. The show comes from the Duke and Duchess's multi-year deal with the streamer, under which they will create scripted series, documentaries, features, and children's programming. Meghan herself gave the following description. Like many girls her age, our heroine Pearl is on a journey of self-discovery as she tries to overcome life's daily challenges. So Markle Archwell's Archwell Productions co-founder. Pearl will be the first animated series from Archwell Productions. Netflix revealed in April that it teamed up with Archwell for Heart of Invictus, a documentary produced in partnership with the Invictus Game Foundation that, of course, Prince Harry is involved with, that highlights the resilience and hope from competitors participating in the titular event, The Hague 2020. So yeah, now that it's not going to be happening because Netflix have cancelled the animation series, whilst it's still they've cancelled it because it's still in the development stage. So if we move on to the announcement here we are. Netflix acts animated series created by Meghan and Harry's production company while show is still in the development stage. So this is, well, already a financial disaster, surely.
I mean, you'd imagine. I wouldn't even have thought the idea was a financial disaster. But then again, so was Cuties, and they never cared. So it's not about the money, is it?
Well, the Cuties make a loss on that. Or whoever made it. Well, so do I, but...
I mean, the amount of people just, deleted their accounts in response to being like, yeah, maybe I shouldn't pay money for essentially CP.
Yeah. But, I mean, this may be, of course, due to cutbacks. But it may also be because they've looked at the show in development and maybe thought it just looks awful. Or Netflix might just know, in light of recent criticism, that releasing it could lead to more subscriber losses, as I've already said. But one could argue that, she still has a podcast on Spotify, doesn't she? I've never listened to it, but she does have a podcast on Spotify. But the fact that no one seems to have heard of it is probably an indication of how well that it's doing. But like, if she loses this gig, if you like, which, by the sounds of it, she has, it's. I mean, Netflix is decadent. Probably one of the biggest outlets, or I don't know, broadcasters, online broadcasters for, you can say, the woke managerial class to assert their influence and make a career out of, in effect, just posturing those virtues. If Netflix is going to go down, then pretty much everything about what Meghan Markle's kind of set up to achieve for herself personally and politically is going to come crumbling as well. Do you not think?
I don't know. I mean, these people seem to keep failing upwards. So
Yeah, but there was a time though when it genuinely looked as if being woke was financially profitable. I don't think that that's the case anymore. But you look at, for example, like the Star Wars trilogy, the most recent Star Wars trilogy, excluding the very last film, that was a complete and utter disaster. But the Last Jedi was absolutely, I think we can both agree that that was absolutely appalling on so many levels. But commercially, it actually did pretty well, didn't it?
I don't know. I don't have the data.
Or financially, it did pretty well. I mean, critically, it doesn't really matter or anything. But yeah, yeah. One can argue that this isn't a big deal for Meghan, but I think it is. But royal author Tina Brown agrees with me on this. Has said it as much as recently in an interview with the Washington Post. If you move on to the next article, yeah. So, but she's basically said that Meghan ultimately has no workable brand and isn't really going to go anywhere. And that's probably been the case from the very beginning. She said it can't be said for Harry, because Harry is in a much better spot because he's brilliantly started the Invictus Games, which I think he gained a pretty good public profile for doing. And that's what his brand should be. He should just forget everything but the Invictus Games and just make that his brand. It's authentic. He really was extremely a good shoulder for it. So veterans are in his bloodstream in terms of authentic caring about them, and it's a wonderfully connective. It's a wonderfully connective cause to be aligned to. Meghan, however, as she says, doesn't really have a brand. You feel that she is sort of grasping somewhat at whatever Twitter is caring about at the moment. And that, again, is a very, very good characterisation of every woke person, really. It's just a matter of waiting for the next in thing and then to posture an allegiance with it. Just like, well, you could say it's been the case with people over Ukraine, the Ukraine situation. Lots of people have presented an interest in that, despite not following what's been going on in the Donbass region for the last 8 years. Then there's, of course, Elon Musk, who's been castigated by the ex-Twitter cathedral, and being against him has almost become a virtue to be postured. You can pick off the NPCs quite quickly, given how they almost present these things in a sequence. With one another, and Meghan has always been one of those, and has set out almost to accumulate to basically subsidise for herself through a combination of being a member of the royal family and cash in on the capital that there is to be accumulated from woke politics as well. But I genuinely think that market forces are shifting at this point. I think people are getting so sick of it that there is genuinely no market virtue signal like this anymore.
I don't know. I mean, I've never been a fan of the idea that this is something to actually make money. I mean, the get woke, go broke thing is years old because it is eventually true, even if it's not immediately true. But the George Floyd effect, I mean, you can see it just right there. It's vaccines, it's Ukraine, it's women's rights.
Yeah.
It's my 40th birthday. Let's have a mentoring scheme. So, yeah, just jump from thing to thing you know nothing about and we'll never learn anything about. We'll just leave.
Well, Black Lives Matter as an organisation has turned out to be what I suspected it would be all along, basically just an alternative you could say managerial class trying to reconstruct how we look at a very, very particular metric of equity, which is race. I was one of the most ardent critics of Nigel Farage, for example, when he said that they're trying to implement Marxism through the back door. I always knew that they had something almost worse in mind, or that they were just complete frauds. Even Ash Sarkar has even had to come out and admit it's now for the first time in ever really that they may be bad actors.
All the Marxists end up being bad actors anyway.
Well, yeah, not least because it's a philosophy of victimhood, really. And anyone, if you appeal to lived experience and use that language, you can lay claim to being on the receiving end of an awful hegemonic system that's rigged against you. That's why nothing positive can come out of it. But that was Meghan's market, in effect. She was appealing to, of course, to those interested in Black Lives Matter, those interested in feminist politics, and basically just making loose enough commitments, loose enough statements to be able to kind of set herself up or her career up in a way to do very well out of it. And it doesn't seem to be working. Like it was a very, very poorly thought out strategy from the very beginning. Whether marrying Harry from the start was a part of that is, of course, a matter of pure speculation. I genuinely hope that it isn't, but there you go. She's woke, that's for sure. And like all wokeists, she's extremely narcissistic and confused about her political ideals, not least because she probably doesn't believe in them. You're not going to build up a credible portfolio of political activism if your virtues are all about just supporting the current thing. nothing is really going to go anywhere for Meghan. Basically, is what she told the Washington Post. Miss Brown, anyway, and it never will because there's no substance to anything that she's actually doing. This can be seen in the persona that she exhibits in public life, which we will see in a bit. If we just skip past this, because this is the absolutely awful interview that she gave with Oprah Winfrey, where she was called out to have been completely and utterly you could say untruthful about several facts about her testimony. I mean, there was I can't remember exactly, but there was the matter of with the comments made about about her unborn child or something like that, about its race, and she actually contradicted herself on multiple levels about multiple ways about that. She was meant to have an interview with Piers Morgan, and when she found out that he actually had a few reservations or identified contradictions in the testimony that she gave, she completely and utterly backed out of it. And of course, he's had a bee in his bonnet about this ever since. But that's basically what you're contending with. This was one of the biggest PR disasters she could actually have subjected herself to, because had she actually gone on and let Piers Morgan attack her, she could actually have made herself look more credible. The fact that she wouldn't even have the interview with him in the end, it just almost admitted that she was guilty in the public eye. So if you're going to present yourself as a new type of royal, then surely engaging with interlocutors who you know are going out to destroy you would be a good way of perhaps doing that. But anyway, if we move on to some of the actually no, we've got a shill actually for our next thing, and this is, I believe, what you did. If you're interested in actually understanding what real royalty is, then please check out Callum's video on how does the crown work. Do you have any comments to say about this?
Oh, basically, it's just explaining partially why everyone in the UK absolutely despises her. Like, I know this is somewhat of a division in the United States, although most people hate her anyway. But over here, her name is literal mud. And it's because, well, she decided to go against everything the institution stands for. And it's like, well, okay, we're not a democracy. We're not a republic. Like, we're a United Kingdom. And if you decide to go against the institution of the kingdom, well, then get lost. Simple as.
Yeah. But no, it's really, really interesting stuff. So please do check that out if you're interested in learning about more about the royal family, of course. But yeah, let's go back to the terrible public persona that Meghan has been sustaining. So this is a very, very recent picture that was put out by her husband, Prince Harry, who said he was thrilled to be riding alongside. This is, I think, one of Prince Harry's friends. Thrilled to be riding alongside my friend Prince Harry and the rest of the Los Padres team at the Santa Barbara Polo Club. I believe this is in California. We've ridden together many times over the years now, and we've both been parents. It's extra special to be able to spend this time together. Now, you could argue that there isn't really anything shocking about this, given that, well, we know that Harry likes to play polo. And we know that he's probably going to, I don't know, take this up as a hobby wherever he lives. But it would be a bit of a PR no-go if I don't know, his wife was seen to be, or at least from her perspective, immersed in the culture that she's already alluded to being the one that's kind of constraining her in some way. So if we get the next, we can get the next up here. We can see that Meghan was actually in attendance here. So whilst she's of course presenting herself on the one hand to the opera interview as like an outsider of this culture, almost in the way that you could say like a complete like stranger would be. She's doing the complete kind of opposite here, whilst not really seeing how this could come back to not look particularly, I don't know, honest. Yeah. So if we move on to the next, we can see the $14 million mansion that they're currently living at the moment, which, by the way, I believe is 5% paid for by, well, our tax money, given that they are still receiving some privileges from being members of the royals.
Fantastic.
Yeah, absolutely fantastic. Oh, dearie me, yeah, that's not particularly good, is it? Anyway, if we move on to the next, we can see that... yeah, actually no, this isn't the one. If we move on, no, not this one. Go to the one after, and the one after this, which I think features the dress. Okay, no, maybe it doesn't include it. But in short, as you can see, the everyone's pretty much every single royal that has been kind of following Harry and Meghan from the very, very beginning has been out to get her, or at least so it seems. You could collapse this into a I don't know, the sort of critical narrative that the Vara media do, for example, or you could see this as just how, I don't know, a patriotic press, maybe, if you want to call the Mail, that would react to someone who they believe is ultimately trying to put into disrepute one of the only institutions that we still kind of value as a country.
It's worse than that. I mean, literal traitor.
Yes.
Because remember, if you're a patriot in the UK, you are a patriot for what? Well, for the kingdom. Well, who's running the damn kingdom? Well, it's the crown. And in which case, if you're someone who harms the crown, you are a literal traitor.
Yeah.
And in which case, of course, everyone hates you.
Yeah. She's doing an absolutely appalling job, really, of managing her public profile, of trying to make friends beyond, you could say, her Californian, Hollywood cohort or whatever. Harry has still got his thing with the Invictus Games going for him, I suppose. But ultimately, it genuinely looks like this. The fact that I get the impression that she had a lot of faith in her potential, I don't know, script writing career with stuff like Pearl. And if she's not going to, the outlets aren't going to be there for her to spread across those who would pay I don't know, stupid amounts to watch very, very poor quality content, and there's not really a market for her at all. She's neither an aristocrat. She was a Hollywood C-lister really before she got known for going out with Harry, to be honest. I mean, she was in Suits. That was her best gig up to that point, I believe. And at this point, we're probably going to see, I don't know, peak grifting. I don't know. Let's watch this space and see how she goes, where she goes from here.
If you appreciated that segment from the podcast of the Lotus Eaters, you can go to lotuseaters.com to get access to all the premium content we have on the site, such as this premium video, The Politics of the Northern Lights, The Golden Compass, from John Wheatley. And if you want to find out what else John Wheatley is putting out, you can follow him on Getter at John Wheatley on Getter. Thank you and goodbye.